Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I have for you a few of my orchids that are in bloom and a few new acquisitions from orchid shows and meetings and stuff like that. And I'm going to start off with my favorite. This one is my Podangis dactyloceras. I'm assuming that's how you say it. I think it sounds like a dinosaur when you say it, but this is it. It's a pretty small orchid, as you can see it right next to my hand there. And it likes to hang out in my warm to hot growing terrarium. So my Cattleya are in there, and my Phalaenopsis cornucervi are in there. But yeah, this is a species that is native to Africa, and it likes bright light, but not too bright. As you can see over here, the tips of the leaves actually got burnt the first day I had it. I put it in direct sunlight, and that was not a good thing to do. But the orchid itself is doing just fine. As you can see, it's got lots of aerial roots growing out, and those like to grow into the media that is in the terrarium. I do need to repot this orchid as soon as it finishes blooming though, because I think it stays way too wet in there. Since it's in my terrarium, the humidity is higher, so it needs a better draining mix. But for now, I think it's doing just fine. This side, you can see, has all of the blooms on it because that was the side that was facing the sun. But it has 5 spikes in bloom right now, I believe, and I can see at least one more spike that's coming out somewhere in there. They're hard to find, but yeah, I'm really happy with this orchid. It doesn't really have much of a scent, but that's all right. The flowers are just really unusual and cool, and I like unusual and cool stuff. Some people say that the orchids are glass-like, and I can totally see why, because they're kind of semi-transparent and a beautiful crystal-like white color. And it's got like a little lime green dot in the middle. And here is blooming orchid number 2. This one is my Phalaenopsis cornucervi, and this is the newest spike on it. It's got 4 flowers and 1 more on the way. And you just wanted to draw your attention to how long this spike is. Goes all the way down there compared to the first spike right here. This one is significantly smaller. It just kind of starts there and kind of curls up. And it's got 1 bloom on it right now. Usually has 2, but as you can see, it's got another bud on the way. But I thought it was kind of funny how different the lengths of the spikes are. But this is a sequential bloomer, so it keeps on blooming like a lot of species Phalaenopsis are. So it's nice to see the first spike blooming as well. This orchid likes to hang out in my terrarium, along with my Podangis dactyloceras and my Cattleya, like I mentioned before. But this one is great because it blocks a lot of the light from getting to some of the lower light orchids. So some of my orchids like hot temperatures that can be attained in the terrarium, but they do not like as much light. So this is a nice one to have because it's quite a bit bigger than a lot of the ones in my terrarium. And it's kind of hard to get an up-close picture of these, but they've got a nice, like, kind of like some sort of wildcat spotting on them. It's pretty cool. And you can see another bud is coming right there. And then they just keep growing really quickly, actually, out of the end of the spike right here. So there is Phalaenopsis cornucervi. And here is the last of my orchids that are in full bloom, at least right now. This one is a really nice, small, hybrid Phalaenopsis that I won from the raffle at one of my orchid meetings. And I actually just noticed this flower right here, this mutant flower, is completely missing the lip. All of them have this beautiful lip right here. And just as I was putting this up on the table, I noticed this doofus flower right here. That's funny. I did not notice that before. But anyways, it's got really nice coloring. I don't tend to acquire Phalaenopsis as much as I did before, at least hybrid Phalaenopsis, just because I I like a challenge these days. I like the challenge of the weirder orchids, but you can never really get over how beautiful these are, and just great looking plants altogether. So I'm gonna have to repot this one as well as soon as I overcome my laziness in the first place, and also as soon as it finishes blooming. But it should be doing just fine after it's repot. And I will leave you with this weird flower before I go on to my new orchids. Okay, and here is the beginning of the new orchids I have acquired. I'm gonna try to do my best to remember exactly which ones I've gotten since my last video. I know it's been a while, but I'm gonna start with these ones, which are actually from Fred Clark, straight from Fred Clark at Sunset Valley Orchids in California. These are 2 Cattleya type orchids, and he gave me a great deal on them at the end of the meeting that he attended at the Central Ontario Orchid Society. He actually did a presentation that was fantastic, and he had some plants to buy, so I picked these 2 up, and yes, I have the tags in them. The one on the left, I'll just let you read right there, and it is a nice pink color, or at least will be a pink color when it blooms. And this guy over here is BLC Tropical Upgrade. That's a cool name. And I just wanted to say what wonderful condition these orchids are in. I know Fred Clark is well known for his orchids, especially his Cataseums actually, but all of his orchids were in such great condition. This one, as you can see, has a new growth coming off of it that was not squished at all during packaging, and has grown probably twice its size since I got it not that long ago. So that's great. And then this one right here has, sorry about the glare, but at the base of one of the bulbs it has a new growth coming out. So yeah, really happy with these ones and expect great things from them. You can kind of see the pink coloring that will be apparent on the flower kind of speckling the leaf right here, because you can see that it's getting quite a bit of light, so that is awesome. I've noticed that red or pink or purple orchids tend to get this speckling color when they get a lot of light. So there are those 2, really looking forward to those. Here is another new bulbophyllum that is from Clouds Orchids. That one is Bulbophyllum orthoglossum, and this one is kind of a freebie. I went with a friend to Clouds Orchids, and she got enough to get some free orchids, and this is one of them. She was nice enough to give it to me. So this is the newest growth right here. It's maturing very slowly, but it's getting nice and big, so that's good. This one's got quite a unique flower, as a lot of bulbophyllums do. And it's doing really well next to my, bulbophyllum, bicolor, and another bulbophyllum I can't think of at the moment right here, but lower light orchid, which is nice because I do have some areas of my apartment that are lower light. Here is another peculiar new orchid that was actually quite high on my wish list, and I happened to see it at an orchid show. This one was at the Toronto Artistic Orchid Society show, I believe. And this one also sounds like a dinosaur. This one is Pteroceras semiterratifolium. Exactly. So this one stays quite small, so I don't think it's going to get much bigger than this. It probably will just have a bunch of other smaller keikis, but it's the flower that I'm really interested in on this one. I don't really know. It looks like a little jewel or something, and it's just a beautiful color. I'm going to try to put the picture of it in the top corner there. Really happy I managed to get this one because I don't think it's a very common orchid. and I really like this mesh that it's on, and just its size makes it really easy to move it around in my terrarium. Like on really sunny days, I kind of like hang it off of other orchids so it's not in direct sunlight. Seems to do just fine no matter what though. It's grown a bunch of new roots, as you can see, and it's got a new leaf coming out of the top there. So we shall see how this one goes. Hopefully it will bloom soon. Not really sure if this is blooming size or not. If any of you know, please let me know. And here are two new Cattleya. If you've watched my channel for a little while, you know that I do like my Cattleya. So I've got two new ones. The one on the right I'll start with because this one's from Clouds Orchids. They have a lot of Cattleya recently. And this one is Cattleya pusilla, or pusilla, you would say in Spanish. And you can see there, it has an orange flower. And if I had been better with my timing, I could have shown you because it did bloom. And the flowers are a little bit smaller than my other Cattleya, but just as beautiful. I don't have any other orange ones, so that was really nice. And this one is just going gangbusters with its new roots. It seems to really like the terrarium, as most of the Cattleya do. So there is that one. And then on the left here, doesn't look as great, but this one is a Cattleya lunifera. It's a funny story with this one, because Cattleya lunifera was another one that was high on my wish list, probably number one on my wish list. And I was looking everywhere for this orchid. I'd seen some, like from pictures at shows and stuff like that, but I'd never seen one for sale. But Crystal Star Orchids happened to have this, and I must say it wasn't in good condition at all when I first got it, and I did not like the mount that it was on. So I picked up this mount that is exactly the same as the other one there because it is from Clouds Orchids, and I remounted it onto here. And it is doing really well. It's got those two new leaves, which Cattleya sometimes get, and they will eventually fall off. And it's got new roots as well. One thing I did that I'm not quite sure about yet is I crazy glued it to the mount. I've seen some people do that, so that's what I did. Although it wasn't exactly crazy glue. I think it was Gorilla Glue. So it really shocked me, and I was kind of upset when I saw the glue go white. I think I didn't let it dry long enough before I got it wet, but it doesn't really seem to be having any negative effects on the orchid. Like the root that I glued was already kind of dying in the first place, so I think it's okay. It surprised me with how well it's doing so far. So anyways, continuing the funny story, I was looking everywhere for Cattleya lunifera, and then as soon as I got this one, another one of my orchids that is classified, or labeled as Cattleya verdiflava, I think turned out to be Cattleya lunifera. I think it was incorrectly labeled because the flowers are, they've got red, like they're big red spots on the flowers, and as far as I know, Cattleya lunifera is the only one with red spots on the flowers. So again, if I had been better with my timing, I would have been able to show you, but the spikes are done on that one. So hopefully this one actually is a Cattleya lunifera as well. So stay tuned, we shall see. And last but not least, I am taking you outside to see this one, which is what I'm happy about, a Schomburgkia schultzii. Not quite sure how to say it, but I am always on the lookout for Schomburgkias, and this one is near blooming size. This one's from Clouds Orchids, and it's quite big compared to the other Schomburgkias I have. So you can see it gets a lot of sunlight out here. It's been inhumanely hot in Ontario, Canada recently, and I have seen no ill effects on this orchid. I know that they get like blasted with sun in Mexico on the sides of palm trees and stuff like that, so I don't think I'm gonna see any sunburn or anything, but it seems to be doing just fine. It's got a couple new bulbs that have matured, and then just make sure I'm pointing to the right spot. Yeah, a new growth right there. And I just have to make sure that I pour water on this one every day because the mix is just wood chips in there, so no sphagnum moss to hold any moisture, but seems to be doing just fine. I think this has purple flowers, but yeah, as I said, always on the lookout for Schomburgkias, so I'm really happy with that one. Since it's so sunny and so hot out here, it's actually hotter than I experienced in Mexico, which is quite a bit south from us. I only have 2 orchids outside right now because I think I would probably get sunburn on the rest of them. So the Schomburgkia schultzii, and then my Maxillaria tenuifolia right here, or one of my Maxillaria tenufolias, the big one. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. If you want to see any more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks. Bye.